Before we get into building our design, I want to touch on color palettes and the color wheel. Although we aren't creating motifs in this particular course, I still think it's important to keep in mind color. And even if you've created motifs already, like what I'm showing in this specific course example, you can always recolor things. So keeping in mind color theory and things like that will be helpful in creating an overall successful looking surface pattern repeat. The first thing I want to touch on are some tools that I utilize when it comes to figuring out color dynamics, and then also some websites that you can utilize to create color schemes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the color wheel. So color theory can help designers determine which colors look good together, and color theory goes beyond just eyeing color combinations that look nice, and this relates directly to the color wheel because the color wheel can help artists and designers find harmonious color combinations based on the geometric relationships represented on the color wheel. I have a color wheel in my studio that I reference all the time beside my Pantone books and things like that. And they're relatively inexpensive. You can get them at craft stores. You can order them online. But they're very helpful in coming up with harmonious color combos. In the traditional RYB color wheel, the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. You can create secondary colors like orange, green, and purple by mixing the primary colors. Red and yellow make orange, yellow and blue creates green, red and blue creates purple. Then mixing secondary colors and primary colors together, you get tertiary colors. This probably sounds a lot like elementary school art class, and that's totally where all of this kind of stems from. Color theory also involves a color's darkness or lightness or color values, and while we're not going to jump into color theory too deep, I did want to highlight how all of this plays into your selections when it comes to creating your color schemes for your layouts. You can change a color's hue by adding white for a tint, which will basically give you lighter pastel colors. You can add black to a color to create a shade, and basically that darkens and dulls the color. And when you add the color gray to a primary or secondary color or a tertiary color, it creates a tone. If a color is toned down, its brightness and intensity is lessened. So when I'm creating color palettes, I like to think of these 4 following steps when it comes to picking colors. I like to clearly define the results that I want to achieve with my color options, and basically create my color feels. Like, what do I want people to feel when they're looking at my visuals? Then the next step is selecting a key color that reflects the needs of my project. Step 3 is then selecting a color palette based on the choice of your key hue. So kind of pulling in those additional colors to my story. And then step 4 is refining that color choice as I create. So when I talk about color feels, I want to talk about kind of like the idea of the emotional response that you get when you look at a color. So that's kind of what comes to mind when I say color feels. So color feels to me play into the results that you want to achieve, right? Color can be hot or cold, warm or cool, light or dark, pale or bright, and the aspects or the qualities of color refer to colors and color combinations that evoke a certain emotional response. So we're going to touch on this just a bit. When we talk about hot colors, hot refers to red in full saturation on their color wheel, basically red at its strongest. Hot colors are bright and attract attention. They're strong and aggressive, and they seem to vibrate a bit. And then there's cold colors. Cold refers to fully saturated blue. They're calming but also dominating. Cold colors remind one of ice and snow, and the cold colors give feelings that are the direct opposite of those hot colors. Then there's warm colors. All hues that contain red are warm. It is the addition of the color yellow to red that makes warm colors vastly different from hot colors. Warm colors are comforting and welcoming. Then there's the cool colors. Cool colors are based in blue. They differ from cold colors because of the addition of yellow to their composition, and they make us feel renewed, and they're soothing and calmed. Light colors are the palest pastels. They're light due to the absence of visible color in their composition. They feel almost like transparent. Light colors open up the surroundings and suggest airiness, rest, and feel almost like liquid. Dark colors are hues that contain black in their composition. They close up space and they make it feel smaller. Dark colors are concentrated and serious feeling. Pale hues are the softest of pastels. They contain at least 65% white in their composition and have a diminished hue. Pale colors like ivory and light blue suggest gentleness, and they're very calming colors. And then when it comes to bright colors, it's the amount of pure color within a hue that determines its brightness. The clarity of bright colors is achieved by the omission of gray or black. Bright colors are vivid and attract attention. They're exhilarating and cheerful. Now that we understand how the color wheel works and how different colors make us feel, I want to jump into understanding color schemes. Basically, the different color combinations that we could utilize in our layouts. There are lots of different color schemes. I'm just going to name a few of them. And these different schemes aren't necessarily only the colors that you see on the slide. You can combine any specific, any color within the color wheel that fits the kind of guidelines for this color. But these are just some that I pulled out. Achromatic colors, monochromatic, secondary, analogous, neutral, tertiary, clash colors, primary, and complementary. So when we're looking at achromatic colors, these are basically without color. These schemes use only black, white, and grays. Monochromatic uses one hue in combination with any or all of its tints and shades. So in this case, like a purple, and then all kinds of different shades and tints of that purple. Secondary colors are a combination of the secondary hues of green, violet, and orange. Analogous colors use any 3 consecutive hues or any of their tints and shades on the color wheel. Neutral colors use a hue which has been diminished or neutralized by the addition of its complement or black. A tertiary triad is one of 2 combinations of red-orange, yellow-green, and blue-violet, or blue-green, yellow-orange, and red-violet. Clash colors combine a color with the hue to the right or the left of its complement on the color wheel, whereas primary colors are a combination of the pure hues of red, yellow, and blue. And then complementary colors use direct opposites on the color wheel. Now that we understand the color wheel, selecting colors, and all of the different tools that I utilize to create color palette, I want to highlight some resources that you can tap into online. The first place that I like to go to find color inspiration is Pinterest. There's tons and tons and tons of different color stories and color schemes listed on Pinterest, and it's a great way to pull imagery and an easy way to find photos that you can utilize for the tip that I'm going to show you on creating your own color story in Affinity Designer. So you can search pins. I'm going to be sharing a Pinterest board with you all that has color stories that I've created and basically sourced on Pinterest. And Pinterest is just a really great and simple way to kind of find a plethora of different images that have really great color stories. Some of them are actual color stories created, like this one, for example, where they pulled out the colors individually, and some are just photos that maybe I like the color and we can pull those colors out directly. So Pinterest is a great place to find images that you can use for building your own color stories. Another great place, and I've included these in the color resource guide that I have attached to this class under the resources tab. But another great place to visit is colorhunt.co. There's just tons and tons of different color stories that have already been created. It's just a free and open platform for color inspiration with thousands of really trendy hand-picked color palettes. So this is one great option. Another scheme generator is coolers.co. and you can actually upload images and pull colors from the images directly, and they give you the actual RGB or hex code. So this is a really great tool that you can use. But if you don't have access to the internet at some point and you're just working on something, I'm going to show you another way to go about doing this. But Coolors is a fantastic tool to utilize. You can actually create a palette from a photo. So in the upper right hand area here, you can select create palette from color, and then you can browse a color. You can browse and find an image that maybe you've downloaded, and then just hit next, and it'll open it in the generator, and it'll create your color options from the generator. I really like using Coolors a lot. It's really fast and simple and easy to use. And then another website I like a lot is colorlovers.com. It's another color inspiration website. It's more of a creative community where people from all around the world create and share colors, palettes, and patterns, and they include things like trends and interesting articles. So this is another really great option for you to find color palettes and things like that. It's an older website, so I don't think it's been updated too much, but there's thousands and thousands of different color palettes already in there. It's just a great resource to tap into. And then the next option that I want to show you is how to use and set up your color story using the color guide that I've created. When you download these files, it's going to be in a zipped file. When you open them up, you'll see something called Course 20 Color Guide. Just right click it and open with Affinity Designer. You may need to install the fonts that I have included, and you'll see the setup that I have so that you can create your own palette. So I already have one example here. You may need to install the fonts and whatnot in order to view this properly, so make sure you do that first. But basically I've created kind of like a little inspiration board that you can pull for your color stories. And you can do this by using a website like unsplash.com or Pinterest to find images that you might find, pretty, or that the colors look really nicely. You can look up and search words like monochromatic or bright colors, and it'll give you a whole bunch of different options. And then what we can do is once you find something that you like, select it, and then you can download it. Unsplash is a great option because it's royalty-free images that you can use. Just make sure you read to make sure if you're doing something for, like commercial work, make sure you check the license to ensure that you can utilize it in that way. And in this case, I like the monochromatic feel of this. It gives me a really pretty kind of combination of different purples. So I like this color a lot. So I'm going to select download free, and it'll download into my downloads. And then what I'm going to do is go into my worksheet here. I'm going to select that white square under monochromatic. And you can update these to be whatever you want. I just wanted to include examples for you all and show you how to place these images. And then you could do this on your own. But what you'll do is you'll select that square, and what we want to do is go to File, and then we're going to select Place. Find where you've downloaded your file to. Mine's is just going to be my downloads, and then I'm going to select Open. And you'll get this little downward arrow. Wherever you click, it'll place the image. Your image might be too big, so you'll want to resize it. So you can just hold Shift and drag in from the corner. And if you find that doesn't keep things in proportion, you can also select Command and then just drag it in from the corner and resize it. And what you want to do is mask it within that original rectangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that image, we're going to drag it below that rectangle, and then we are going to drag it inward so that it crops inside of it. And then what we're going to do is go to the left-hand side toolbar, and we're going to select the color picker tool. And that is going to allow us to pick up the colors within this image. So with the color picker tool, you can click anywhere on the image and it'll pick up that color. So what you can do is go to your swatches and make sure that the outline is turned off. You'll know it's turned off because you'll see a white circle with a red line through it. And then you want to go to your fill color. And what we'll do is just pick up colors from within here to create that monochromatic color scheme we're going for. So with your color picker tool selected, you can just click on anywhere within the image and then go to your swatches panel and then look for what looks like 3 squares and a plus, and that's going to add that color to your swatches. So I'm going to just kind of keep going around this image and picking up color until I have 6 colors that I like. And once I do that, then I can update the bottom squares. So what I'm going to do is click on these squares at the bottom. They're grouped together, so you may have to double, triple click to select each one individually. And then I'm just going to go in and select the swatch for the colors that I've already pulled in. So I'm going to click on the next square, click on my next swatch, click on the next square, click on the next swatch, and just do that until I have all of the colors I've selected in these options. And I've created my monochromatic color scheme. And what's nice is that if you're in, say for example, another file, you can just select these colors, copy them, and paste them into your new file and pull them off to the side from your artboard, and you'll be able to color pick from those as you work on recoloring your motifs. So I left 2 additional ones open for you to choose colors and create a color palette, a really simple color palette of your own, using a photo, placing the image just how I showed you. And then if you want, you can also go in and change these as well, these top ones, and you just have to double click inside of the file to access the direct selection of that photograph, or you can just go into the layers panel here on the right hand side and select where it says rectangle and select that little drop down area, click on the picture, and then delete it, and it'll give you space for you to place your own photo image if you'd like. Now that I've walked you through how to create the color palettes, now you'll want to work on the last 2 on your own, and then we can get started on building our first full drop repeat pattern.